My name is Khalid. I work for Rothamsted Research Institute, which is one of the oldest institutes we claim in the world. We do a lot of work in many things. I would say I studied in Germany, and then I've been living in the UK for 10 years. I'm originally from Pakistan, so don't please look at me as I'm British. So I live in the UK. Now I'm naturalized, but still have roots with Pakistan. So very nice to be here. Thank you very much for inviting us here, Professor Gökhan, for your support. Thank you.
Kendisi Rothamsted Araştırma Enstitüsü'nde doktorasını Almanya'dan aldı. Yani dediği gibi zaten pek İngiliz gibi İngiliz vatandaşı ama İngiliz gibi görmüyor. Pakistan doğumluyum.
Just want to tell, Gökhan has already explained the food. The food is the way it's produced. We call it nowadays food system. So from farmers to the consumers. So it's a complex system. So what we need is we want a food which is more healthy, that could make people healthy. But its issues come with how do you produce the food? So technology, use of mechanization. But the new system which is now coming more and more popular is the ecosystem. So how do you produce food that is really healthy and it's not having any problem with the environment? So there is a lot of work which is happening at the moment in the world, also in Turkey and other parts of around the world. So where we're looking at how we produce food. Are we causing any problem with the environment? The environment thing is becoming more important. So as you see how the food is produced and how it's been transported, where it goes, it's very complex. So from farmers it goes to the middleman it goes to the processor it goes to the another, I would say it's a middleman or shipper, export. It's a lot of connections within the food. So agriculture itself is not like a factory where you just make something. If you are making shoes in a factory, it's much easy. But when you produce food on a farm, it's very complex. The farmer is much more dependent on the nature, is much more dependent on the soil, and on the sun. All these things they affect, but also in terms of who's going to buy food from them. So the prices, the supply chain. So it's a quite complex system. So that's where we use this terminology, food system, rather than just only agriculture. So this is the next sort of connection between food to the consumers. So how they are interlinked. There are issues around because the changes are happening because in many places on the farm, with the transport, even with the consumers, because our lifestyle is changing. Now more people live in cities than in rural areas. There is an estimate by 2050, 70% of the population would be living in the cities. 30% would be living in rural areas. This means there would be a different way to produce food and bring it to the consumers. And then on top, climate change. So we know the weather is changing due to different reasons. I will explain in the next slide. Then greenhouse gas emissions. And on top is the humans, their nutrition. So we get more people nowadays sick, diabetic. In the UK, every 4th or 5th person is diabetic. And I think it is a similar statistics say in Turkey as well. And I know, I think it's 1/5 people in Turkey are diabetic. So which is again linked with the food. So it's an interesting challenge. Now if you look at how food is double burden with the nutrition. So one problem is there are some countries which have no food or less food. And that food that they're eating in those countries is not balanced food. So it has some, first of all, it's not meeting the energy requirements of the body. This main problem in Africa, the countries which are yellow, these are the countries which have got big issue with the nutrition. The countries which are red, so they are quite heavy in population, but they have big problems. Like a country like Pakistan, 45% of the children are stunted. So this means they are not growing according to their age group. So they are underweight because the food that they are eating is missing with those important elements. Like we need these calcium, vitamins, iron for our body. Iron is good for your blood circulation. So those things are missing in the diet. But if you look at other countries which are on this side, which is primarily the European countries, so they have big issue with the obesity. So people eat more food. The food that they are eating is not healthy. It's more in fat, it's more in salts. So that causes issues with obesity. So it's a difficulty you see on both ends. One side there is no food, other side there is more food which causing problem with obesity. So this is again now a challenge, which food we should produce. And here is a chart showing the population. So the world population, we are already now 7 billion people. By the end of this century, the population is going to be maybe 15 billion. We're just thinking by 2050 there will be like 7 billion people. So the 9 billion, sorry. So the way we produce food at the moment, we need to double this food by 2050. So 2050 is only 30 years from now. So this means we have to produce more food. But at the same time, we have seen with the climate change, the temperature is rising. So there is a 2 degree centigrade temperature has risen in last 1 century. And this is in the region of 1.5. So different people have different, I would say, descriptions of temperature. So then we have issues in terms of in some countries which are getting rich. So it's a bit of phenomenon. So when you become rich, you start consuming more protein, more meat. This means when you need more meat, you need to produce more livestock. This means the livestock need to feed more grain. So it's an effect which is linked with your diet pattern. So these are the countries which are how much meat they are consuming. So North America, so on average, these countries they are consuming around 30 kilos of meat every year. But some countries in Africa they are consuming maybe 2 kilos, 3 kilos. But soon their income level go up, so they will start consuming more meat. This means you need to keep more livestock, you need to grow more grain. This means you need more inputs. So this will be having a knock-on effect. And this is again somehow the countries which are how much is it's affecting the agricultural yield. Some of the countries which are worst affected with the climate change, the countries below the equator, so are on the equator, because the temperature is going to be more and the weather pattern will be more unreliable. Do you want to
Şimdi gıdadan bahsediyoruz dedi. Ama bunun sağlıklı bir şekilde üretilmesi gerekiyor. Özellikle ekosistem ve çevreye etkisini biz nasıl minimize etmeye çalışacağız? Çiftlikte üretim, eskiden biz sadece bu tarım olarak bahsettiğimiz süreç aslında bir gıda sistemine dönüşmüş durumda ve çiftlikteki üretim o karmaşık şekilde olduğu gibi çok kompleks bir yapıya sahip. Gıda sistemi de sadece tarımdan oluşmuyor. Yani birbiriyle bağlantılı birçok parça var. Diğer tarafta da özellikle hastalanan, rahatsızlanan insanların sayısında önemli bir artış olduğunu görüyoruz. İşin bir tarafında çocuklar yeterli beslenmeye erişemiyor, kalsiyum eksikliği var, demir eksikliği var. Diğer tarafta da obezite problemiyle karşı karşıyayız. Yani bir grup ülke bu eksikliklerle karşı karşıya kalırken diğer grup ülkelerde de gereğinden fazla tüketim olduğunu görüyoruz. Nüfus artışı çok fazla projeksiyonlar var. Biz 2050'lere kadar konuşuyoruz ama bunu 2100'lere getirdiğimiz zaman 15 milyara yaklaşacak bir nüfus olma durumu söz konusu. Sıcaklık artıyor, iklim değişikliğinin etkileri var. Dünyanın bir kısmında çok yüksek miktarda et tüketiliyor ama bunun da etkisi hayvan sayısının artması gerekiyor ve bu da özellikle doğal kaynak ihtiyacını ve hayvancılığın yoğun doğal kaynak kullanmasından dolayı o tarafın iyi idare edilmesi gerektiğini söylüyor.
Thank you. So this is again low income countries which have less intake of food, low middle income countries, and then if you look at the other countries which have more use of food. So just a continuity of that slide. So Western economies, they are having big issues with they have two issues. One is aging population. So the population is people are surviving more. So the age expectancy has gone up, and this means people are more dependent on health services. So it's an interlinked phenomenon. So they need some food which is more in nutrition that can keep them less dependent on technologies. So this is the thing I just want to explain. That was a bit of. So producing food in this circumstances is a complex. So the first line, which is on the top, shows the land use, water use. Gökhan has already explained in the beginning session. So there is a limit. You can use soil. There's a limit. You can use water. There's a limit. You can use the oil. And then issues come around the greenhouse gas emissions and urbanization. So these are the bigger challenges. And when you have to produce food, so it's farmers, producers here. And then in the middle is the industry which processes the food, and then the supermarket. So this is maybe example of a very organized economy. So European economy, I could say. But when we have countries like Turkey or some other countries, so this is a lot more dominated by middlemen, informal economies. And by the time it reaches to the final consumer, so it becomes issues around the health and their well-being and the prices, the availability, affordability. So this is where it becomes quite complex. I have a little video to show you now, sort of to.
In a sustainable way depends on a huge range of complex interconnected factors. From the farmer who has to cope with an increasingly variable climate, to food processors and retailers who have to source from all over the planet, it's a far cry from the way things used to be. Complexity can be challenging, but the good news is that there's a huge amount of data out there that can support decision making right across food production. Using this data, we can make the agri-food system more effective and resilient. The challenge is to make all this information available and easy to use, converting it to reliable and innovative knowledge in a resource that is easily accessible for all. Introducing Agrimetrics, the world's first big data center of excellence for the agri-food industry. We're a collaboration between renowned organizations, and together we make up a trusted, secure, independent, and not-for-profit broker of data. Our founders represent leading science across all sectors of the industry, but how do we make a difference? Our data platform and related expertise enable farmers, service providers, food processors, retailers, consumers, scientists, and policymakers to connect and share insights on those challenges that are too difficult to manage alone. Let's take this farmer, for example. He wants to know how he can use the land to give him the best profits for the next, let's say, 10 years. Well, because of our pool of data, we can compare similar-sized plots of land with a similar soil type and similar climate conditions. So the farmer can look at our insights and decide not only what crop to grow, but what variety is likely to give the best yield. But it's not just about the farmer and their farm. We continuously collect and link data from right across the agri-food industry, so not only can the farmer choose the best crop to improve productivity, but everyone involved can make informed decisions on the safety, quality, security, and sustainability of the products they grow, source, and sell, meaning the consumer can enjoy better products at lower prices. The result? Connecting different parts of the industry through data creates sustainable agriculture practices, that are able to feed more people with better food, with fewer resources. Everyone sees the benefit. In fact, the insights we can create are endless, because we make accessible to every partner within our industry the collective expertise of all. And it's all driven by the information that we're constantly collecting, analysing, and uploading to our platform. And the more evidence that is shared, the greater all our knowledge will be, supporting us all to develop the solutions that will anticipate new challenges, not just react to them. Discover how agrimetrics can help your business. Get in touch today.
Okay, sorry. So this is where you want to explain.
Sure. Şimdi doğal kaynakların kısıtlı olduğuna vurgu yaptık. İşin farklı boyutlarını düşündüğünüz zaman bir üretim tarafı var, ondan sonra gıda endüstrisi var, tüketici var ve nihai olarak kamu sağlığı da burada önemli. Özellikle Türkiye gibi kayıt dışı oranının yüksek olduğu ülkelerde bu sorunları çözmek biraz daha zor hale geliyor. Daha sonra da agrimetrics'ten bahsetti. Agrimetrics dünyadaki ilk tarımsal büyük veri analitiği yapan kurum. Bu aslında kar amacı gütmeyen bir kuruluş. Rothamsted de onun partnerlerinden bir tanesi. Bu aslında agrimetrics'in temel hedefi verinin karar vermeyi etkilemesinden yola çıkıyorlar ve gıda sistemi içerisinde bu sistemin daha etkin ve dayanıklı, yani problemlere, dış etmenlere daha dayanıklı hale gelmesini sağlamaya çalışıyor. Agrimetrics aslında bir veri broker, yani hem çiftçi nasıl karını arttıracak, bunu gerçekleştirirken diğer benzer çiftçilere bakıyor. Yani sadece o çiftçinin verisi değil, benzer bitkileri üreten, benzer iklim yapısına, benzer toprak yapısına sahip olan diğer çiftçilerle karşılaştırarak bunu yapıyor ve veri sadece çiftçiden değil, sektörün genelinden de geliyor ve nihai amaçta hem bu sistemi iyileştirmek hem de tüketicinin daha az kaynak kullanılarak daha sağlıklı ürünü daha ucuza elde etmesini sağlamak.
Hocam burada soru sorabilir miyiz yoksa?
Would you like to have some questions?
Shall we hold it for the last? You can ask, yes, please.
About agrimetrics, what is the source of data that you use?
So the data source is coming from various ends. From the government. The government has collected a lot of data in the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, DEFRA. So DEFRA has collected a lot of information about the farms, about the markets, and then we are also collecting data from the farmers. There is because this is a data platform. If you are a farmer, you could provide your information onto the platform, and then you can get information back as well. If you are a farmer in region A and region B, you want to see, okay, what is in region A, if I'm growing wheat, and what yield I get, what other farmers get in my area, so you can compare data. So a lot of time the data that you put in there, you put a lot of information, but when you want to access other people's information, it's kept, the names are taken away, it's just showing the average are from that region.
Soru, veri kaynağı nedir agrimetrics'in? Cevap önemli miktarda hükümetten geliyor. Bakanlığın topladığı veri var, piyasalardan gelen veri var, çiftçilerden gelen veri var. Burası aslında bir platform, yani veri platformu olarak düşünebilirsiniz bunu. Farklı bölgeleri karşılaştırmanız da mümkün. Bir de isimler gizli, yani çiftçinin kim olduğunu bilmiyorsunuz ama ondan elde edilen verilerin işlendiği bir platform.
So there is also discussion now, because agrimetrics was the first world largest data center, where we have discussions and now partnership with chemical companies, seed companies, and soil companies, fertilizer companies. So everyone has their own data sets. So this agrimetrics is providing a platform to access data from all the partners and process it together using APIs, which Professor Ashok will explain what the APIs are. So coming back to the question, so now we thought how we need to make a balance, because the food has to meet the societal challenge, the food has to meet the environment challenge, and food has to make economics. So back for the farmers who are the producers, back to the financiers, banks, insurance industry, the technology industry, so they are the beneficiaries. If the farmer is happy, then other players are going to be happy. If the farmer is not happy, then the sustainability of the system is very fragile. So we in the UK, we come to this, this is something is a new term nowadays called sustainable intensification. So how do you produce food which is more sustainable? So I mentioned to you the problem from the environment, the uncertainty caused by climate change, and the requirement of the food which has to be nutritious, that when people are consuming it, they are healthy. So how do we fulfill this problem? So we have to we use this terminology, climate smart agriculture. So what should we grow? When should we grow? Where we should grow? So these are the questions that we need to address through data science. Then you can bring the technologies on top of it. So technology, you still need a tractor. You can't live without a tractor. You have to use the soil. You have to harvest the crops. You need labor, people, manpower. And I was talking to Gokul last night. There's a huge problem in Turkey, and the same is in Western Europe and other countries. The average age of the farmers is around 75 years. So they are getting old, and the next generation, they do not want to work on the farm. They want to study and they want to go and live in towns. So how do we provide them a technology that can reduce the use of labor? So having some kind of a robot, having some kind of a automatic machine that could be used on the farm, that would be a solution. At the moment, the solutions that are provided by big machines, like some harvesters, they are very big. Big tractors, very big. So when we talk about small farmers, they can't afford. Even if they can't afford, they can't bring those tractors into their farm because farm is small. And if you are doing horticulture crops, you're doing fruits, you need some small machineries. And I was talking to our technology people there. They said, in ideal world, a robot which could be the size of a motorbike that you can bring on the farm, and if it is in the same price, this will solve the problem. So this is an ongoing problem. And then we're looking at pest and disease management. So how to bring all these things together, we call it as sustainable intensification. And how do we do it? So this means you need to have more data. You need to provide more knowledge to the farmers. So you need to tell them when to grow, how to grow. Although our farmers, they'll say, oh, I know it because it's been done by my generations. We're doing the same thing. That's fine, but the thing is, when it comes to the new generation, they do not have that experience. Also, it's in the mind. It's sometimes we haven't seen by knowledge. This is where the science will be able to help. So how to provide the farmers with good knowledge, and how do we make some kind of change within the farming system that helps to adapt to the climate change. So this sustainable intensification term is not new. It's been used in Africa since 1990s, but it's been getting more popular in UK, but I don't know how it's in your country. Do you use the word sustainable intensification?
We use sustainability all the time, but
this is the new thing. So sustainable intensification, and I would say how it's been going to other countries. So this has gone to China now. So China is now very keen to look at the sustainable intensification. So China have a huge area. They produce around 600 million tons of wheat. So world's largest producer of wheat, maybe after the US. But so they use a lot of chemicals. So farmers use a lot of pesticide, they use a lot of fertilizers. And I tell you what, the way our farms, our crops are organized, the way we give fertilizer, the plant do not need fertilizer at one time. It's like us as the humans. If you feed me a diet for all 3 days, I'll just collapse. So, but when you feed to the plant fertilizer, they need in different stages. We just give them fertilizer at one time. Plant is not able to take it. So a lot of that fertilizer is going to be wasted. So when it is wasted, it produces nitrous oxide, which is a greenhouse gas, which go in the air, which cause the greenhouse effect. And if it's not going up in the air, it go in the water. It becomes nitrates. It leak into the water, and then it becomes problem for the drinking water quality. It affects the life in the water, in the rivers, in the sea. It's going to affect your fish, some other species that are found in the water. So China said by 2020, next year, so they will not have any increase in the use of fertilizer. So whatsoever they have achieved, they have already gone to that level. So at the moment in China, they are using around 200 kilogram of nitrogen per hectare. So now they say we have to bring it down because you don't need 200 kilogram of nitrogen. So they are looking at using some kind of putting a ban. There won't be any increase of total consumption. How they would like to do it? So they have to work on the sustainable intensification model. China has a lot of smallholders. 200 million farmers are smallholders, which have less than 1 hectare, 0.5 hectare. And so there's a huge inefficiencies in China. So they are working with Rothamsted. So we have now worked with them. We are helping them in how can they achieve better nutrient use efficiency. So we use this terminology, nutrient use and efficiency, NUE. So this means you have to work with the crop, with the plant, and on the soil. And when we talk about the soil health. So soil, it has microorganisms. If you use a lot of chemical fertilizers, it kills those microorganisms, are not helping them. So the soil becomes barren after many years. So it's a big claim that we've been hearing that China's 70% of the land is now polluted. So,
şimdi yani o Agrimetrics'in yaptığı işlerden aslında kimyasal üretim yapan firmalar, tohum firmaları, gübre firmaları, bunların hepsinin ayrı veri setleri var ve bunları birleştirmeyi hedefliyoruz. Sadece bu firmalar değil, finans ve sigorta sektörü de bizim çıktılarımızdan faydalanıyor. Burada kritik olan çiftçi. Çiftçi mutsuzsa sektör kırılgan hale geliyor dedi. Ben de bunu sunumlarda kullanıyorum bundan sonra. Güzel bir lafmış o. Daha sonra da Sustainable Intensification dediği sürdürülebilir yoğunlaşma, odaklanma şeklinde yeni bir terim üzerine biz terimi çok kullanıyoruz dedi. Burada birkaç hedef var. Bir tanesi riskleri yönetme. İklim akıllı tarım yapmak istiyoruz. Teknoloji önemli. Türkiye'de olduğu gibi çiftçiler yaşlanıyor. Yeni kuşak tarımdan çıkıyor. Bir de önemli bir mekanizasyon tarafında biçer döverler ve traktörler büyük ölçekte ama özellikle meyvecilik yapıyorsanız, bağdaysanız bu büyük araçları kullanamıyorsunuz. Daha küçük boyutlu araçlara ihtiyacınız var. Bunların maliyetinin de düşürülmesi lazım. Zararlı yönetimi de yine bu sürdürülebilir yoğunlaşmanın önemli bir faktörü. Daha sonra Çin'den bahsetti. Çin yaklaşık olarak senelik 600 milyon ton buğday üretiyor. Ama bu üretimde çok fazla kimyasal kullanıyor. Bitkinin gübre ihtiyacını siz bir kerede değil aşama aşama vermeniz gerekiyor. Yoğun miktarda kimyasal kullandığınız zaman da bunun önemli bir kısmı bitki tarafından kullanılamıyor. Doğrudan atık oluyor. Bu da sera gazı etkisi yaratıyor. Suya karışıyor, çevreyi kirletiyor. Çin'in 2020 hedefi kimyasal kullanımını daha fazla arttırmayacağım şeklinde. Yani mevcut seviyeyi tutup daha da azaltmayı hedefliyorlar. Biz de Türkiye'de küçük çiftçiden bahsediyoruz ama Çin'de 200 milyon çiftçi yarım hektardan daha düşük bir araziyi işliyor ve verimsizlik çok yüksek. Rothamsted ve Çin ortak çalışıyor. Özellikle bitki ve toprakta aşırı gübre kullanımını azaltmayı hedefliyorlar. Çünkü aşırı gübre aynı zamanda bitkiyi iyileştirme yerine topraktaki mikroorganizmaları öldürmesinden dolayı ikincil bir olumsuz etki yapıyor ve Çin'deki toprakların yaklaşık %70'ini ve aşırı kimyasal kullanımı altında olduğu, etkisi altında olduğunu söylüyor.
Sorry.
Tercüman ücretini de Arzu Hoca'dan alacağım.
So, I thank you very much. So again, we have already touched what's happening on the farms within food systems, so soil. So now I'm just going to go in more details. So what inputs are required on the farms? So the thing which affects the food production, our crop production, our plant production, first is soil. So what soil types are there? Structure, nutrients, hydrology. Hydrology means water drainage, and the moisture of the soil. Soil health, organic matter. So these are the things which are more on growing plants. So why plants need resources, how they need resources. So these are the things they have to come in a balance. If you give too much water, the plant will die. Other than maybe rice can sustain. And if you need, if there is no irrigation, if you give fertilizer, it will not happen. So a lot of time these decisions the farmer is making on his previous knowledge are sometimes okay, yes, let's do it, without having proper data. So all these things, they need data. So irrigation, pests, which pests are there. So I can give you example of like I was grown in Pakistan. So a farmer, they do not know which pest is there, because they do not have education about those insects. So they go to the market and they ask the pesticide dealer, I'm growing cotton and I have seen some bugs on my crop. Can you give me some pesticide? And now dealer wants to sell his thing. He said, oh yes, take this medicine or take this pesticide. So he brings to the farm and he sprays his field. And when you are spraying field, and we have seen with research, there are some beneficial insects. So beneficial insects like ladybirds and some other insects, they eat some of the other insects, like aphids or some of the flies. So if the balance is out, if they are more beneficial, they will eat those insects anyway. So this means you do not need to spray. So this knowledge farmer do not have, and he's been pushed by the dealer who want to sell. So when he's using a lot of pesticide, this means he is killing the beneficials. Secondly, he's adding more pesticide into the plants. And thirdly, when the insects they get more pesticide, they become resistant. So next time if you spray them, then you need to spray next level. It's like human level. If you get sick, maybe if the disease is low, you just get away with paracetamol. But if you go to the next level, you go with the next level of antibiotics. But if you use a lot of antibiotics, then normal antibiotics will not work. In the UK, usually if you go to the doctor, they will not give you medicine. If you have a flu, cold, they said go, it will be settled in 4 days. But if you go in Pakistan, if you go to a doctor, they will give you antibiotics straight away. This means your body is becoming resistant. So if you get proper sick, that antibiotic will not work. That's the same problem we see in agriculture. With use of a lot of pesticides, we have found that the pests have developed resistance. So this is where we need the knowledge, how we give this knowledge to the farmers. They need knowledge in terms of harvesting. When is the best time to harvest? You mentioned you have a lot of horticulture crops in this country. So it's very important the temperature, the moisture that you harvest your crop. If you harvest a bit early, this means you have become issues with the post-harvest. So it will have more moisture, this will help to grow a lot of bacteria, fungus. We call this terminology mycotoxins. So you will have mycotoxins. We have seen mycotoxin issues in figs and some other commodities produced on the world. So this is where we need data. And then we need data around water itself. Water is the main supplement in terms of food production. 75% of the fresh water is used around the world for agriculture. In some countries even more, 90%. And there is going to be more competition with urban versus rural. I know Turkey, you are blessed with a lot of water, but if you go to eastern part of the Turkey, water is less. If you go to Africa, water is less. And in many countries, water is expensive as well. If you just keep on tracking a lot of groundwater, the aquifer will get empty. And you know, aquifer refilling takes millions of years. It's not refilled back in 10 years, it takes millions of years. So that's where we need a very sensitive and very responsible way to use our water. That's where the technology could be used. So how do we use it? So what solutions are available? So we're talking about real-time sensing. So can we use some data of the weather? When the rainfall is happening, can we use that data? Can we use some of the technologies like satellite that gives an indication of early warning? So this area you have next 10 days there is going to be no rain, and your moisture level is going down, maybe you irrigate now. So that information will be very helpful. We're talking about sometimes the sensor, you can put some of the sensors. Of course, this is quite fancy solution. Small farmers do not have sensors, but at least this information available in the region where you have local weather stations. They could be interlinked to create some kind of alert or warning system that could be issued to the farmers. Then we're looking at these nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. These are the main elements to grow plants. They are part of the production system. And we've been saying a lot, phosphorus is very limited. It's only available now in Morocco. I would say 75% of the reserves are in Morocco. And it's going to be a challenge. Once it's finished, it's finished. Phosphorus is good for producing food. It's good for your bones. If you do not get phosphorus in your food, so human survival will be difficult. And then this is more sort of the soil conditions, pH. So Token was explaining me, you have some soils which are sodic soils, you have soil with waterlogging. So how can we reduce the use of water in a way that it helps that farmer to grow crops in other years as well? Not only this year, next year and the year after. Maybe next generation. So this is where we have to protect our farming system in a way that it helps to secure food in coming years. Now how we do it? Yes.
Şimdi çözüm ve gıda sistemine yönelik ne tür çözümler üretilecek? Bir slaytta girdiler bahsedilmişti. Bitkinin ihtiyaç duyduğu kaynaklar neler? Çiftçi geçmiş tecrübesini genelde kullanıyor ama veriye çok ihtiyaç var. Mesela Pakistan'dan bir örnek verdi. Orada çiftçi tarlasında bir zarar görüyor, böcek görüyor. İlk yaptığı şey ilaç firmasına gidip ben böyle bir böcek gördüm, buna dair bana bir ilaç verir misin diyor. Firmada satış yapmak istediği için çiftçiye bir tane ilaç satıyor. Çiftçi de geri dönüp bu ilacı tarlaya uyguluyor. Ama burada aslında belki görmüş olduğu yararlı bir böcek olabilir. Yani diğer böcekleri öldüren, yiyen yararlı bir böceği de siz ne yazık ki bu şekilde öldürmüş oluyorsunuz. Diğer etki de aşırı zirai ilaç kullanımından dolayı böcekler bu ilaçlara dirençli hale geliyor. Dolayısıyla onlardan kurtulmak daha da maliyetli bir hale gelmiş oluyor. Su çok önemli. Suyun kullanımı, fiyatı, su havzalarının su kaybı bunlar önemli problemler. Nasıl çözeceğiz peki bunu? Orada da çözüm alternatiflerinden bahsetti. Gerçek zamanlı ölçümler yapabiliyorsunuz. Uydarken uyarı sistemleri kullanarak o bölgede mesela bir süre onun günlüğüne yağış gelmeyecekse orayı sulama gibi bir uygulama yapabilirsiniz. Sensörlerden faydalanabiliyorsunuz. Buradaki problemde özellikle küçük ölçekli bu maliyetten ötürü bu sensörlere erişemeyebilir ama bölge içi bir erken uyarı sistemi uygulanabilir. Gübre kritik. Dünyadaki bazı ham madde kaynakları tükenmekte. Az işte önemli bir miktar kaynağa sahip ama eninde sonunda bu tükenecek. Diğer ölçümler toprağın işte asit değeri, tuzlanma, taban suyu yüksekliğine dair ölçümler yapılabilir. Sadece bu yıl için değil, takip eden seneler, takip eden kuşaklar da suyu etkin bir şekilde nasıl kullanacaklar bu takip, o ölçülebilir.
Thank you. So how do we do this real sensing? So we have in Rothamsted, we have used soil moisture stations. We collect information about soil temperature and soil moisture on different depths, 10 centimeter, 20 centimeter and 30 centimeter. This is where normally the roots are growing in that space.
Where are we applying this?
In the UK. So I will show you a video shortly. And then we're looking at air temperature and then relative humidity, wind speed, solar radiation, and that's very helpful in terms of making any decisions when to harvest your crop. And then we're using a lot of systems to measure the greenhouse gases, because if you know, it's a lot of discussions happening in the press at the moment. Agriculture is producing a lot of greenhouse gases. They even comparing these days, a cow is worse than a car. Although the car is producing a lot of pollution, but now they say a cow is more worse because cow is producing methane gas, which is it takes many years to disappear. So we measure a lot of these things. I will show you a video here. Sorry, my technology is playing a bit here. Oh, there was a video, everything has to start again. I will show you just a second, maybe later on. So next challenge, I would say, we have now done the farm, now we're going, food is produced, it's been harvested. So the other problem starts in supply chain. So harvesting losses. So we have seen in maybe tomato, if you leave tomatoes for a long time, it will ruin in the farm. You have to harvest them at the right time. And then problem coming with the storage, transportation, processing. And there's a huge issue in terms of, okay, when you process some food in the factory, they want, if something goes wrong, they want to see where the problem has come from, which farm. If you're talking about this factory is a dairy factory, so if they are making cheese, or if they are processing some milk, so if there's a problem in that can of milk, they want to find out where this problem has come from. If you do not have a data of the individual farm, when you collect milk, can you make connections that milk has come from that farm? That's where this provenance and traceability is becoming very important. Then I mentioned here the issue of nutrition and safety. So safety is very much linked with the government regulations. Like in the UK, if you are giving your cattle any antibiotics, for 7 days you are not allowed to take the milk from the cow and put into the food system. So I don't know how is the regulation in Turkey, but I know, like with my kids in Pakistan, people give it injection and the milk is in the market the next day. So which is a big problem. And this is then becoming more and more issues around labeling. So the food has to have a label, where this food has been produced, and what sort of pesticide been used. And then there's a lot of, because to address all these challenges, there's a concern coming around certification. So there are bodies which are independent bodies which will come and certify, okay, this farm is organic farmer, you have to have a certification. To become organic farmer, you have to have 3 years, almost 3 years to leave your farm not using any chemicals. But somebody will come and check your data before giving you certification. That's where the data is important. So I give you example of here, how do we work on a solution where we integrate the supply chain on farm prediction. So this is example of, we work with a company, breeder, small company, SME, which was not an agriculture company, it's a software company. So they come to us in the UK, and I think in this country would be the same problem. When if you are selling your animal for meat production, so who set the price of your animal? In most of the cases, it's the middleman who comes, look at your animal, okay, this is 4,000 liras, Turkish liras. So it's a lot of time they're using their visuals. So there is no transparent way to decide the price of the cow for meat. And the same is problem in the UK or in the EU. In the EU they have made some standards for carcass quality. But the carcass quality is measured when the animal is already slaughtered. It's in the slaughterhouse. In the UK, normally if I sell my animal, my payment will not be received unless they check my carcass. So I send my animals to the slaughterhouse, they kill it, they slaughter it, and then they look at the carcass. And then they say, okay, this is meeting the carcass standards. There are like A, B, C, D ratings. So a lot of time my livestock which I have been keeping, they are on rating D. D means I'm getting maybe 50% of the price because my livestock is not meeting that standard. It has got more fat, its muscle quality is not good, its meat quality is going to be affected. So now already the animal is killed. I have kept it for 2 years, 3 years, so I can't do anything. So now what we're doing is we're bringing data science to help early on to the farmer. So we're going to take pictures and x-rays of the animal when it's been killed, and we try to link type of animal itself, the breed itself, and try to link the age of the animal, what they've been eating there. So when we have a lot of these data sets, we want to produce a very simple technology. Then you can maybe take a picture from your iPhone or some phone that I can say, okay, this animal will produce D quality, B quality, or A quality. You know early on, maybe at 12 months or 15 months rather than after 24 months. So if your animal is going to be quality A, then you keep it for 24 months. If it's going to be quality D, then you straight away sell your animal because its muscle quality is very weak. So this will help to improve the efficiency in the production system. Farmer will get good price. He knows what sort of animal I keep. He will even be able to see which breed they should keep. Rather than keeping breed X, Y, Z, I will go for X because X price brings really good value for me. So this will have a bigger impact on the meat production in the UK, but around the world as well. I was talking to Doctor, this could be a knowledge for Turkey as well.
Şimdi üç tane ayrı örnekten bahsetti Rothamsted'de yaptıkları. Bir tanesi ölçüm tarafında o videoyu gösterecekti de gösteremedi. Orada 15 tane toprak nem ölçüm istasyonu var. Nemi, ısıyı, diğer faktörleri ölçüyor, radyasyonu ölçüyor. Farklı işte kullanımı ölçen sistemler var dedi. Sera gazı etkisine biraz vurgu yaptı. Şu an günlük gündemde olan konulardan bir tanesi inekler arabalardan daha fazla çevreye olumsuz etkide bulunuyorlar, metan üretiyorlar şeklinde. İkincisi de tedarik zincirinden biraz bahsetti. İşte hasat sırasında ortaya çıkan verim kayıpları var. Bunun dışında işleme tesisinde bir sorun tespit edilirse geri gidip mesela sütte bir sorun var. Bu hangi çiftlikten kaynaklandı? Orada izlenebilirlik önem kazanıyor. Yani zincirde geri gidip nerede sorun olduğunu tespit etmeye çalışıyorlar. Besin değeri ve güvenlik önemli. Mesela İngiltere'de bir ineğe antibiyotik verilirse ondaki sütü 7 gün boyunca kullanmamaları gerektiğini ama Pakistan'da olsa aynı gün sağlam sütü kullandıklarına vurgu yaptı. Türkiye'de durum nasıl bilmiyorum ama antibiyotik verilirse hayvana kullanılıyor.
Yeniden azdır bu.
So it's the same in Turkey. You give antibiotics and then the same day you can milk the animal. Ondan sonra etiketlenme, sertifikasyon, kullanılan girdilerin ne olduğu bunlar da diğer önemli. Şimdi üçüncü örnek, o daha somut bir örnekten bahsetti. Breeder isminde bir teknoloji firması. Bunlar KOBİ'ler ama tarımla aslında esas işi tarım değil, teknoloji üretiyor. Bunlar öngörüyle tedarik zincirinde ne tür iyileştirmeler yapılabildiğini söylüyor. Siz bir et için hayvan yetiştiriyorsanız burada et fiyatını özellikle aracıların belirlediğini söylüyor. Bunu da görsel olarak yapıyor. Yani gördüğü hayvan et kalitesine bağlı olarak bir fiyat veriyor. Bu da şeffaf değil, objektif değil. Buna karşılık karkas kalitesini acaba daha önceden siz ne olacağını tahmin edebilir misiniz? Burada da işte o toplanan veriyi işliyorlar. Yani bir sürü hayvan kesildikten sonra onun karkas kalitesinin ne olduğunu ölçüyorsunuz. Sonra geri gidip acaba bu hangi hayvan ne tür nasıl beslendi, ne tür uygulamalardan geçerek yetiştirildi. Bu bilinebilse belki çok daha önceden hayvan yetiştiricisine senin hayvanın şu kalitede olacak şeklinde bir öngörüde bulunabilir. Dolayısıyla o kişi de acaba hala bu hayvanı beslemeye devam etmeli mi, yoksa bunun kalitesi zaten düşük olacak, ben yatırım yapmayayım, bu hayvanı beslemeyeyim demeli. Tam tersine hangi hayvan daha kaliteli et üretiyorsa belki o cinse yoğunlaşması gerekiyor. Diğer hayvanlardan vazgeçip o yüksek verimli eti olan, yüksek kaliteli eti olan hayvana yoğunlaşabilir. Bunun için de işte görsel yazılımlar kullanarak belki bir noktada yetiştirici sadece hayvanın resmini çekerek onun karkas kalitesinin ne olacağını daha önceden tahmin edebilir hale gelecek.
Thank you. Yes, please, question.
I need more information about like how do you do the body scoring? Like you take the animal's photo and then you label it as a quality. So I don't think it's processing. I don't know how to explain that, but I think to explain when you are doing it. Like we said, like 1 year before, 2 years before, how like it's a bit like confusing.
Because this all depends on the data. Every animal is different. So now we're collecting a lot of food. So we have maybe 100,000 animals sampled through this imaging carcass score. Because we have our own farm, there we keep the animals, we measure everything. So our own animals going to the slaughterhouse. So the idea is to collect that information that allows you to develop a model. At the end it should be, Ashok will explain in little more details. It's a model. So the model will be able to tell, because each muscle has some kind of angle. This would be much more, I would say, the machine learning. So it's not only taking 10 animals, you could say, because we are in the process of developing this technology. Soon it will be done, it will be available on through app. It's still working process. It's been tested at the moment, I would say.
Okay, so it's not functional yet.
It's been testing. It's been testing. Yeah.
So you're gonna look at the muscles of the animal?
Yeah, so muscles of the animal, so you can
you take the fat there?
Yeah. So they are using, it's already used in the pig industry. So they put some cameras that are looking at heat detection in the body, which gives the idea where is the fat, where is the muscle. It differentiates. Okay. So, and even with that imaging, you could take an idea of the weight as well. So they are already using in the pig industry. It's already being practiced.
Do you know the name of like what, if they're producing, like they're using the pig industry? Do you know like they have a functional?
The infrared, yes, it's infrared technology they're using it, heat sensors. Yeah, I can explain later on to you. I can give you the names as well. Yeah, that's already been used.
Are they using spectral analysis?
Spectral.
Soru bu hayvanları nasıl resimleri nerede çekiliyor? Kendi Rothamsted'de de kendi hayvanları olduğunu ve orada onların düzenli olarak resimlerini çekip işte kesildikten sonra et kalitesini ölçecekler. Aslında bir model oluşturmaya çalışıyorlar. Yani o kullandıkları verilerle bu iş nasıl modellenebilir, bu öngörü nasıl o model çerçevesinde hesaplanabilir, onu tespit etmeye çalışıyorlar. Sığırlarda olduğu gibi aynı zamanda domuzda da benzer bir şekilde işlemler yapılabiliyor. Gövde ısısı ölçülüyor, çeşitli ölçümler var, kızılötesi kameralar kullanarak ölçümleri yapabiliyorlar.
There are a few more slides that I'll explain a little bit more about differences there. It's coming in the next. So this is again going back to the supply chain. So farmer, supplier, and then issues around his production. So how do we bring this solution? So I mean, data transfer. There will be a lot of discussion how the data has been transferred and how you bring the blockchain here. So I give you example of blockchain here. So in the UK, we're trialing now blockchain in the meat industry. So this project is run by the Food Safety Authority, Food Standard Authority, FSA. So FSA is the authority which in the UK controls food safety, anything that going from this country to England or the UK. So the food sample will be tested by the Food Safety Authority, Food Standard Authority. So they have been doing a project on the beef supply chain, and they are using now blockchain. The blockchain is a concept which Ashok will explain in more details, but the whole idea is you collect information from the farm all the way to the plate. So we say farm to fork. So it is where the idea is you can trace back your meat back to the farmer, so where it has come from. So how do they do it? There are different methods to collect information, how it's been recorded, how it's been shared within the partners, and how this information is helpful. So not only helpful for the consumer, but this information is producing a lot of other insights. I'll show you here. When you collect this information about the livestock, you can see, okay, because they collect information from the slaughterhouse, they take the blood samples, they do some basic disease tests. And those data been reflected, and then you can plot and do map of the area. So which diseases are found, which region. This is the map of the UK, and they are talking about here some diseases and in the animal, different types of diseases they are found. So you can map the whole area. Say, okay, that area has that disease. Maybe give early signal to the farmer, treat your animal or kill your animal. So this would be a way to collect information and give it back to the farmers to avoid any big disaster. Okay, I'm next moving on within the supply chain to the consumers. So why consumers need information? As you saw in the video from Agrimetrics, they want to see where the supply is coming from, how is their affordability is going to be available in coming months. If it's supply is short, people will start stocking it. Then there will be crisis in the market, and they'll have more interest in quality. They're saying, I was recently attending a seminar in the UK. As a consumer, if I go to the supermarket and first thing I say, okay, I buy a food which is cheap. Okay, maybe it's 10 liras, Turkish liras. But in actual sense, when you buy a cheap food, you pay the price afterwards. So it is having effect on your health. This means you are paying more price to the doctor, to the hospital. And the second price, which is we do not know, the price to the environment. So the cheap food is produced on a farm which is using a lot of chemicals, which is not looking after our environment, which is not looking after our biodiversity. This means as a whole society we pay the price. So although I paid 10 Turkish liras for that food, but in real sense I have paid 100 Turkish liras in my, after using that food. Maybe I got sick, something is happening within the environment. So this is where this concept is coming more and more important, that product quality, the consumer should be made aware. And of course when we have no choice, when there is a extreme hunger, then we do not look at the quality, we just have to feed ourselves. But when there is a choice, then we'll have to go to the next step. So, and then within the food, some government regulations are helpful because making food safe, government food laws, and then export requirements. If you are exporting your commodity to other countries, they have their certification requirements. If you are using a lot of pesticides, so their residues stay in that product. I know from again my example from Pakistan. In Pakistan they grow a lot of cotton and the cotton seed cake which is fed to the cattle, and the cattle that are producing milk. And I know Pakistan was trying to export their milk, but they found that in the milk there was pesticides because they were coming from the cotton seed cake. So this is the thing which is becoming more and more problem. And now recently there's a big issue with rice, again from India and Pakistan. there's one of the pesticides which is now put banned in the European countries. So you can't export that rice to European countries. So it's a minimum residue level, MRLs. So it would be same issue in Turkey as well. If you are exporting your fruits and vegetables, you never know the pesticide which is used today, it would be put banned tomorrow. And then issues around, the next issue is coming to be how much carbon footprint of your food is there. If you are trying to export your food, how much carbon that has used. Sorry, I've been scaring you. I'll just go to some good news as well, certainly. So we have already discussed this climate change, that problem.
I can translate.
Yeah.
Şimdi biraz tedarik zincirinden bahsetti. Blok zinciri uygulamaları var. Aşık da biraz bahsedecek ondan. Bu İngiltere'nin Gıda Güvenliği Kurumu tarafından yapılan bir çalışma. Çiftlikten çatala bütün ürünlerin takip edilebilirliği üzerinden çalışıyor. Bununla mesela hastalık takibini de yapabiliyorsunuz. Kesimhanelerde hayvanlardan kan örneği alınıyor. Ondan sonra o İngiltere haritasını gösteriyor. Orada hangi bölgelerde hangi hastalık olduğunu tespit edebilirseniz bölgedeki çiftçilere erken uyarı yeri gönderebiliyorsunuz. Onlar da hayvan beslemeyi bırakıp kesmeyi tercih ediyor hastalıktan etkilenmesin diye. Daha sonra tüketici tarafına geldi. Orada da tüketici için özellikle fiyatlar, ürün kalitesi önemli ama genelde biz ucuz ürünü almayı tercih ediyoruz. Halbuki o an için belki düşük fiyat ödüyoruz. Daha sonra bunun gerçek fiyatı ortaya çıkıyor. Doktora, hastaneye ödeme yapıyorsunuz. Bu ucuz olarak size gelen ürünün çevre maliyeti var. Ucuz aldığınızı zannedip daha sonra çok daha yüksek bir maliyetle karşı karşıya kalabiliyorsunuz. Bir diğer uygulamada kamu regülasyonları, burada da sertifikasyon, üretimde ve sonrasında kalıntılar önemli. Mesela işte pamukta örnek verdi, pirinç ihracatından örnek verdi. Bunlar önemli. Bir de karbon ayak izi var. Bunlar da yine kamu tarafındaki önemli faktörler. Başta daha iyi tercüme ediyordum, şimdi yoruldım galiba. Daha pratik gitmeye başladım.
Okay, so how do we use technology? So now is a solution. I'm talking about more about solutions. That's where the technology could help, the data could help in all these circumstances. Something, I think I might be seen, I've displayed it wrong. Should be duplicate? Yeah, it should be duplicate, okay. That's fine. So here we talk about how the data will be collected, which is going to be how do we collect data automatically. If you talk about small farmers, they don't have data collection. So can you bring a technology which is very simple to collect information on the farm? And some of the data is available. So you could use market data in terms of driving the prices, giving them information, what is going to be the price. And again, some of the big commodities like grains, wheat, cereals, their prices are much more driven by the international prices. So and again, every country have a different growing season. Like wheat is grown, a lot of wheat is grown in Australia, in the UK, in the US. So if there's a good season of wheat there, this means the prices will go down internationally. So that may be sometimes because the weather your season is different. You can inform your farmers in advance. Don't grow a lot of wheat next year because the prices will be low. So maybe grow a crop which will bring you more returns. So this is where that data would be very helpful. So we talk about all these data sets and using this technology and how to inform the farmers. You send some SMS? Can you provide them some easy in their own language, some local tools that they can look at the data? We use the word dashboards. It's an easy way to compare your farm. And then some cloud-based solutions. So, but when the data comes, then it comes with some challenges as well. So, what challenges we play with the data? A lot of trust lack between the players or among the players. So, if farmer give a data, he says, oh, okay, this means maybe it's going to the tax authorities. This means they will say a farmer is making more money, we should put more tax on that. So, this is the trust there, and also within the supply chain. They say, okay, if they know about my produce, the quality is bad, they will not pay me the price. So these are the fear. And also, if they know early on they're going to be less wheat produced in the country, there may be a panic within the market that will create some kind of price hikes. And also, who owns the data? Who owns it? It's my data. I'm the farmer. My data is going in the hand of a fertilizer company or in the insurance industry or bank. So are they going to misuse it? So how I create a trust? And then the government regulations are somewhere, sometimes it's not there and sometimes it's over-regulated. Like in China, getting information is very difficult. They will not share data, but some places it's over-controlled, some places under control. And who should pay the price for data? If we share the data, is there a central way that, okay, if the farmer is giving that data and somebody is using it, they get some kind of return? And of course, the farmer can get returns in terms of the information, the knowledge they can be given in terms of when to use pesticide, when to plant crop. So they can have this knowledge. So this could be another way rather than the reward giving in terms of money, we provide them information. So how to create a level of trust and a business case in this whole data sharing regime. So providing some kind of reward mechanism. You want to explain?
Yeah. Şimdi bir veri kaynaklı çözümlerden bahsederken özellikle küçük ölçekli çiftçiden veriyi nasıl toplayacağınız önem kazanıyor. Bir diğer faktör tahıl fiyatları. Dünyada aynı anda çok farklı ülkede tahıl üretiliyor ve farklı sezonlarda dünyanın farklı yerlerinde tahıl üretiliyor. Dolayısıyla siz belki bir erken uyarı sistemi kurarak diğer ülkelerde şu an çok iyi gidiyor sezon. Dolayısıyla onların arzı yüksek olacak. Bu da fiyatları düşürecek şekilde erken uyarıda bulunarak çiftçi acaba önceden o ürünü ekmeme şeklinde bir uyarıyla karşı karşıya kalabilir mi dedi. Daha sonra da tehditlerden bahsettik. Güven önemli bir tehdit unsuru. Tedarik zincirinde farklı paydaşlar arasında güven eksikliği söz konusu. Arıza talebe hızlı tepki vermeniz yine diğer tehditlerden bir tanesi. Verinin sahibi kim? Çiftçi mi? Yoksa o veriyi bir şekilde çiftçiden elde eden girdi firmaları, bankalar, sigorta şirketleri mi? Bazı durumlarda regülasyon seviyeleri çok düşük ama bazen de Çin gibi ülkelerde aşırı kısıtlama var. Orada veri toplamanız çok zor hale geliyor. Bir de bu veri oldu da toplandı. Bunun bedelini kimin ödemesi gerektiği, burada ne tür iş modelleri olabileceği, ne tür çiftçiye veriyi paylaşması karşılığında ödül mekanizmaları geliştirilmesi gibi durumlarda olabilir.
Thank you. So how we do it? So now I just tell you how it's our institute, Rothamsted, how do we do this data science? So our institute is very old, and our history is we started the phosphorus was invented at Rothamsted back in 1843, and that time the phosphorus was the bones were burnt and this ash was used to treat the plant. So that has a phosphorus in it. And then we created the first insecticide, pyrethroid, which was invented at Rothamsted. We first invented the herbicide, which is phenoxy acid, is used around the world. That was developed at Rothamsted. And this whole data science, and so the modern statistics, NOVA table, and all these were developed at Rothamsted as well. So we have 2 sites in the UK. We do a lot of work on cereals. We do also work on livestock, sheep and mainly cattle. So we have 500 people working in the institute from 35 different countries. So it's quite a diverse place to work. So our work is in plant science, and we work in crop protection. We work on sustainable agriculture and this big data. You see here a picture of a kind of a gantry, big machine. It's like a scanalyzer out in the field. Somebody asked me, do you use drones? So drones have a limited capacity. We use these ones to look at, understand, because as I mentioned in the beginning, it's the use of fertilizers. So what is the best time to apply nitrogen fertilizer? It's still not known. People can say claim, but it's not known when plant need it. So we're doing testing each, because this is a kind of a big platform with high spectral imaging, with all sorts of monitoring solutions. We plant the plant and day one to the harvest. So this machine is moving back and forth to collect information, and it's collecting information out in the field. So the whole idea is that we would like to understand plants' reaction to different stress. If it's heat, if it's cold, if it's pest, disease, how do they react? So when is the best time to apply nitrogen? If it's a wheat, 3 leaf, 4 leaf, 6 leaf, which stage? So this knowledge is being more and more precise. So how we can make, when we apply 100 grams of fertilizer, can we get 99% recovery out of it? At the moment, if you apply 100 grams of nitrogen, only 30% or 40% is available. The rest is all being wasted. So we're taking a lot of soil water measurements. We use these insect traps to look at the movement of insects. So that experiment was started back in 1970. So we have around 50 years of data available in terms of insects movement. We also use some radars. So radars are used to look at the insect movement in the night. And you might be knowing that a lot of time insects, they move from one place to another place. They are not in one specific region. And they move with the temperature change, with the wind velocity, and with the seasons as well. Okay. So how we do it? So this is one of our experiment. I was going to say. So this is the insect radar that we're using for movement of insect. At the moment, it was using. They were able to look at the insects which are 20 millimeter size. Now we developed a new radar which is able to measure up to 1 millimeter. And they do, so typically these radars could give warning early on, when the farmer sees too late. So this can give you warning maybe 3 days, 4 days before that insect is coming that region. So in the UK we have almost covered. Now we are planting these radars in China, and we have now these radars in the USA as well. There's one radar or two radars in the discussion in India. So ideally, if we have a network of these radars around the world, you could monitor some of the insects. You might have seen recently in the news, there is an insect which is fall armyworm. Fall armyworm, which was started in Africa. Now it has spread around the world. So it has, just in 3 years, that has moved. So then we have, this was the experiment that we started in 1843. It's called Broadbach experiment. So this is a piece of land which, there's one piece of land which never used fertilizer, never ever. There's a piece of land that is only using organic fertilizer, then the piece of land which is using some of the nutrients. So that has a lot of data with us. So we can compare from the last 175 years, so how the changes have happened. So if somebody is talking about, okay, my fertilizer is best, we can prove that fertilizer itself is not a solution. You need to have organic matter in your soil. So you have to improve the soil health. So then we started a new experiment. This is again longer term experiment, started in 2009. Now we have 10 years of this experiment, and I'll show you a video about this experiment. This is a farm platform on a 60-hectare land, where everything that's go to the farm, so including rain, what you do on the farm, everything is measured, and everything which go out of the farm is measured. Even the water that leaves the farm is measured every 15 minutes. So I will show you a video in a minute. So this is the farm. Hopefully it should work. So there we these are the grasses that we are measuring there. I'll show you this. Voice is not coming, so I can explain. So there are sheeps, there are sensors here in the field. So this is the research institute itself. Okay, I will show you in a minute. So these are the sensors in the field. It's our local weather station. These are the sensors to collect the nitrous oxide emission from the soil. There we keep the livestock. We measure their movements. So these are the different farm types. So each farm is a different farm. So the blue, red and green, they are different farming systems itself. So the fields outside, they are hydrologically isolated. So the water from the fields is being collected in one place and they come to this green box. There we are also looking at different soil types, which grasses are good, how they help improve the animal performance. We're keeping 30 cattle on each farm, so 90 cattle are kept there. Then we have sheep, and then we keep them in the different housings. So when these cattle spend time in summer grazing out in the field, when they come back to the farm, I'll just stop here maybe, just a second. So when they come to the field, when they come to the housing, so they've been fed to the same field they have spent their summer. So it's a closed life cycle. Sorry, the sound is not coming, but I could explain. So we do a lot of individual fields, their measurements, and then we take the forage quality. Now we get a new harvester which has got a built-in NIR, near infrared solution, that can take the quality of the fiber. Then we take all these measurements to help. This is the improvements, and we're looking at the biodiversity as well. So everything, and then we have our own data platform where you can compare all these animals, their performance. So this knowledge is being used at the moment. It's used in the UK. But now we have connections around the world. So I think Turkey is not part of that program, but we'll be very keen to have discussions with Turkey as well. So here we have what we do there, because on this farm where we keep these animals, so we take their measurements on a regular basis, so their daily weight gain, and see which forage they've been feeding, and which forage produce better quality meat. We're looking at the meat quality, we'll be looking at the milk quality at the end as well. So how you can manage back your soil. So this is where these green boxes, we have put some sensors there.
Çalıştayı'ndan bir
Yes, yeah.
Şimdi Rothamsted'de nasıl yaptıklarından anlattı. İşte ilk çeşitli pestisit, herbisit türleri ilk orada üretilmiş. İstatistik olarak analiz tabloları gibi temel istatistik tabloları da oradaki araştırmacılar tarafından oluşturulmuş. Rothamsted'de 830 hektarlık bir arazileri var. Burada işte gösterdiği tarlalar var. Koyunlar, büyükbaşlar yetiştiriliyor. 500 tane araştırmacı var. 35 ayrı ülkeden geliyor. Ürün konumu üzerine çalışıyorlar. Scanalize'ı gösterdi. O hareketli kamera sistemi. Orada tarlanın farklı noktalarına ne kadar gübre, kimyasal eklediklerini, ne kadar sulama yaptıklarını, iklim etkisinin bitki büyümeye nasıl etkisi olduğunu söylüyor. Hala biz gübrenin bitki büyüme üzerindeki etkilerinin olduğunu bilmiyoruz. Yani çok genel yargılarla biz aslında bu işi yapıyoruz. Halbuki burada bilimsel olarak ölçümlerle kullanılan gübrenin ve ilaçların bitki büyümesi üzerinde ne tür etkileri olduğuna vurgu yaptı. Bitkinin yaşadığı stres faktörlerinin her birine bitkinin verdiği tepkiyi ölçmeye çalışıyorlar. Böcek tuzaklarından bahsetti. Ellerinde 50 yıllık böcek hareketini gösteren veri seti olduğunu söyledi. Çeşitli radarlar kullanıyorlar. Isıyla, rüzgarla bu böceklerin nasıl bir bölgeden diğerine hareket ettiğini ölçebiliyorlar. Daha önce yaklaşık 20 milimetre büyüklüğündeki böcekleri ölçerken şimdi bunu çok daha küçük ölçüye getirebilmişler. 1000 yanlış duymadıysam 1 milime kadar böcekleri ölçebiliyoruz dedi. Erken uyarı sistemi var. 3-4 gün önceden o bölgeye böceklerin geleceğinin uyarısını yapabiliyorlar. Şu an Çin'de, Amerika Birleşik Devletleri'nde ve Hindistan'da bu böcek ölçüm radarları var ve bunları birleştirerek bir network oluşturmaya çalışıyorlar. 60 hektarlık bir çiftlik platformunda her tür girdi, çıktı, yağmur, sulama, bunları 15 dakikada bir ölçtüklerini az önce onu da gösterdi zaten. Yani bu 60 hektarda her 15 dakikada bir gözlem yapıyorlar ve o anlık olarak veriyi topluyorlar. Farklı çiftliklerde farklı üretim sistemleri var. Mesela hangi tür otun hayvan büyümesine nasıl etki yaptığını ölçmeye çalışıyorlar. Hayvanlar günlük olarak tartılıyorlar. Hangi yemleri yediler, nasıl beslendiler ve bu et kalitesine nasıl yansıdı, onun da ölçümünü yapıyorlar.
Thank you. I will not take more. I just want to quickly show when we measure the water. So we use these sensors to measure the water quality. Ammonia, ammonium, dissolved oxygen, turbidity. Turbidity is the rate, the amount of runoff, so soil loss in the water. You have in Turkey as well some areas with hilly areas. If you plow there and when rain comes, it's taking a lot of soil, so which is a loss to the farmer. We have seen in the UK, on average, when the farmer plow, they lose in the region of maybe 20,000 liras per hectare in terms of the soil. So how to better keep the soil back on the farm? That's where we're trying to develop. So this is where we take all these measurements. The water is being measured in these labs, automatic labs, every 15 minutes, which is producing a lot of data. So we comparing different systems, and that's where what we do with the livestock. We keep some trackers on them and see their movements. When they're out in the field, we measure their methane. So methane. So and we see okay which grass they eat that makes more methane. And usually the cattle they burn, and then methane is made from their burn. So we're measuring that one. And so this is again a little bit more details of the project that I mentioned in the beginning about the meat quality. So how do we measure? So this is we use the cameras there for making the measurements of their body. And what we have seen, the differences you could make, and you can even differentiate different breeds and their performance. So its performance is a benefit for the farmers, benefit for the environment, and it's a benefit for the cattle in terms of the welfare. So I will not go in more details here. This is again a bit of data. So this is what we do with our new system now. So now we have a new harvesters, and something would be again we're working with the long big company John Deere. So when you're harvesting your field, you do not know which forage is a good quality. So we have put a kind of NIR. This is a feed lab that you can use on when you're harvesting your field, and it will produce a quality map of the field. And this will tell you, okay, so in the middle of the field you have a really good quality forage, and the sides are these ones are really bad. So in terms of improvement, when you put some fertilizer and when you put some soil health solution, you need to work more on the fields. On the margins, that's where you need some interventions. So this will help next year or this following season. You can measure and you can improve your soil. So now I'm just again how we use technology in terms of plant health. We use a lot of thermal imaging, fluorescence cameras, hyperspectral, and then we also use some of spore collection mechanism out in the field. So like in rapeseed, there's a big issue with some of the fungal diseases. So when the farmer should spray, we have developed these sensors, these trap machines which take the air samples and measure the spores, and that information could help the farmers to when they should apply that particular pesticide. So it's also used in other crops like sugar beet. We're doing the same analysis there, and we can produce alert for the farmers. This is used on other crop, early detection of disease very early on. You can see using again spectral imaging. So we're using this in the lab scale as well. This is an experiment, and this is quite interesting. We're working with a rail company. So they have developed a very precise sort of detection system with the cameras.
Would you please explain more about that project?
So I may not be in more detail, but this is again looking at every disease have a different spectral signature. If it's fungal diseases are different. Powdery mildews or brownie. There are a number of diseases. So each disease we're trying to capture their signatures. It's still work in process because that difference in the color of the leaf could be due to nutrients deficiency as well. And so this is where we're trying to develop a model, because you need to have a lot of data sets before you can come to a conclusion. Yes, when this is reflected in this particular disease. So it's still work in process. So there is not a final solution that we have.
Are you using like cameras, or are you using like what type of?
Yeah, we're using cameras. Yeah, RGB cameras. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Is it an RGB range?
Yeah. So
In which spectral range you
RGB is I don't know.
NIR or more further?
It's in the wavelength. It varies, but RGBs are because it's 3 different spectral.
Yeah.
So I'm not an expert, but I can certainly put you in touch with these guys. So this is the powdery mildew. This was they're looking at tomato plants. You might be not able to see very early on with the open eye, but if you do with these cameras, it can get you quite early on that this plant will have disease. Then you could do a proper measurement. So our knowledge is now being transferred to the farmers through different apps. One is a crop protect app. So farmers just put there any disease that they see, maybe take a picture, send it there, and cloud processing will help, and then it say, okay, which disease is there. Then you could also find some solutions, and you can say, okay, maybe go for this pesticide, that pesticide, which is independent from a dealer. Otherwise, dealer will always sell you some specific thing. So there you can get something unbiased information. We also use some other apps. This is for application of fertilizers. It's called CRAP app, which is primarily using the animal slurry. So how do you? Okay, in the UK is a big problem because in the UK you have rivers close by the farms. So the slurry end up in the rivers. It's a big problem in the Netherlands as well. So I don't know how much is in this country. And then technology could be dangerous as well. I have a little video to show.
Let me translate it. Orada şeylerde hayvanların yediği otların ne kadar metan gazı oluşturduğunu, yani farklı otlar ne kadar metan gazına sebep oluyorlar onu ölçebildiklerini söyledi. Biçer dönerlerin üzerindeki sensörlerle tarlanın farklı yerlerindeki hasat verim miktarlarını ölçebiliyorlar. Dolayısıyla tarlanın neresine ne kadar gübre eklenmeli, nereye müdahale edilmeli bunu söyleyebiliyor. Farklı bitkilerde işte kozada, şeker pancarında hava ölçüm cihazları vasıtasıyla ne zaman pestisit kullanmaları gerektiğini erken uyarı sistemleri olduğunu söylüyor. Yine o gösterdiği görüntülerde mesela mantarlarda hastalıkların izlerini takip ediyor, imzalarını takip edip ne tür müdahaleler yapıldığını göstermeye çalışıyor. En sonunda uygulamalardan bahsetti. Burada çiftçi mesela resim çekerek bunu kendilerine gönderecek. Onlar da arada bir aracı olmadan, çünkü aracı olursa o belirli mücadele ilacını satmaya çalışacağı için biz bunu ortadan kaldırıp doğrudan çiftçiye ne tür uygulama yapması gerektiğine yönelik bilgiyi paylaşıyoruz dedi.
So I've said a lot of things about technology, but again, technology is not a solution always. You still have to have humans who understand the technology. And having the knowledge to the farmers, how to manage the soils better, how to manage the livestock better. just a small video to show how the technology sometimes could be a problem as well. So it's a voice recognition system.
Fire off. Open door. Door open. Zoals gezegd naar fire. Open door. Run place command. Open door. Run place command. Open door. Repeat that. Open door. I didn't understand that. Hey, open door. Play on the phones. It's an open door. Open the door. Open the door. Error. Ariel, we're right. Open door.
Sorry. So I think we don't have to be trusting a lot more technology. So still have to have the humans who can interpret this technology, the data. Thank you very much.